When you're just cruising down the interstate and this massive gleaming 18-wheeler blows past you, your mind probably jumps straight to logistics.
Right, yeah, the supply chain stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you think about pallets of goods in a trailer, or maybe you just think of it as this traditional gritty blue-collar job that keeps the grocery store shelves
Mhm.
stocked. But behind the wheel of that truck is a story that has completely flipped the script on how we think about modern employment.
It really has.
So welcome to another deep dive. Today we're exploring a really fascinating 2026 report called Modern Driver Recruitment: Strategies for the 2026 Trucking Industry. And our mission here is to explore how this deeply traditional industry, truck driving, has quietly transformed into, well, one of the most sophisticated, high-tech marketing battlegrounds in the world.
It's honestly mind-blowing when you dig into the data.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
Because recruiting a truck driver today is no longer about slapping a help wanted sign on a bumper.
Definitely not.
And it definitely isn't about tossing a classified ad in the local paper. It is entirely driven by artificial intelligence, predictive algorithms, and, highly targeted employer branding.
It's a completely different landscape now. To understand why these trucking companies are suddenly operating like Silicon Valley tech firms, we kind of have to look at the sheer macroeconomic reality they're dealing with in the source material. So, picture a digital map of the country.
Yeah.
You've got these endless data streams representing freight routes, right? Connecting every major city. And the absolute lifeblood of that map is the human driver. But right now, in 2026, we are facing an active shortage of 80,000 drivers.
We're out at 80,000.
Yeah. And looking just over the horizon to 2030, the projections show that deficit hitting 160,000.
Wow.
So when you factor in older drivers retiring and just the baseline growth of the economy to keep freight moving, the industry needs to inject a staggering 1 million new drivers over the next decade.
1 million. I mean, you hear a number like that and it doesn't even sound like a gap anymore. That is a canyon.
Yeah. It's a structural deficit that changes the entire power dynamic. Because that shortage is so severe, the leverage is heavily skewed in favor of the workforce.
Which means the fleets are scrambling.
Exactly. They bleed money every single minute a truck sits idle against a fence, which forces us to look at the jaw-dropping financials of what it actually costs to recruit in this environment. We have to understand the financial stakes before we can understand the tech.
That makes total sense because an empty truck isn't just a vehicle taking up space in a parking lot. If you're listening to this and you've ever run a business, think of an empty cab, like an empty hotel room or, a grounded commercial airplane.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. It is pure, unrecoverable lost revenue. You are still paying insurance on that rig. It's still depreciating in value, but it's generating $0. So it completely tracks why the recruiting departments in these fleets have stopped acting like traditional HR offices.
They really have.
They're operating exactly like high-end performance marketing teams. They monitor metrics that you would normally associate with an e-commerce brand, selling shoes online. Things like cost per click, cost per lead, cost per application, and cost per hire.
What's fascinating here is how fleets have had to move away from relying solely on HR to utilizing these highly sophisticated marketing funnels just to survive.
Yeah, out of sheer necessity.
Right. Because 5 or 10 years ago, an HR rep might just look at the raw number of applications that came in on a Tuesday. Now, they're tracking cost per click to measure whether a specific image of a truck is getting engagement.
Down to the specific image.
Exactly. They track cost per lead to measure the efficiency of their landing pages. They measure cost per application and ultimately that cost per hire, the CPH. This is how they calculate their true return on investment. And the cost of this talent war is astronomical. The current industry average just to hire one single driver is $8,500.
Wait, $8,500. That is an enormous acquisition cost just to get one human being into the driver's seat.
And the math gets much wilder when you scale it up. Let's walk through a real-world ROI example from the report. Imagine a mid-sized regional fleet with just 50 trucks. Now, apply a 90% turnover rate to that fleet.
Wait, 90%? I know this industry has churned, but replacing almost your entire workforce every single year seems unsustainable. Why is it that high?
It sounds chaotic, I know, but it's incredibly common in certain sectors of trucking, particularly long haul. The job is notoriously difficult. You have drivers spending 3 weeks away from their families, dealing with irregular sleep schedules, heavy
Yeah,
traffic.
the burnout must be real.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what happens is a driver will get frustrated by a bad route or a lack of home time, and they'll just jump ship to a competitor down the street who's offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. It creates this endless revolving door.
Wow.
So going back to our 50-truck fleet, a 90% churn rate means they have to recruit 45 new drivers every single year just to maintain their current size.
Right to break even.
Right. At $8,500 a pop, that 50-truck fleet is spending over $382,500 a year solely on recruiting.
Over $1/3 just spinning a hamster wheel.
Mm.
They aren't even growing the business. They're just paying that to tread water.
But there is a massive opportunity hidden in that expense. If that same company can optimize their recruitment funnel, and we'll get into how they do that in a second, and cut those acquisition costs by just 50%, they suddenly save over $191,000 in cash.
Man, that's enough capital to straight up purchase new equipment or hire like 3 additional drivers.
Exactly. Fleets didn't adopt high-tech marketing because it was trendy. They were forced to abandon passive HR strategies purely as a survival mechanism.
It is a total paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And when you were dealing with a $382,500 budget deficit just to keep the lights on, you absolutely cannot just post an ad on a generic job board, cross your fingers, and hope a qualified driver happens to scroll past it.
You really can't.
You have to use cutting-edge tech to actively hunt them down, which takes us into the actual mechanics of this tech takeover. You brought up optimizing the funnel. How are they physically doing that?
Well, the days of a recruiter manually deciding where to put ads are over for the most successful fleets. We're seeing a massive adoption of something called programmatic recruitment advertising.
Programmatic.
Oh,
That sounds exactly like the algorithms Wall Street uses to high-frequency trade stocks.
the underlying mechanism is virtually identical, just applied to human attention instead of equities. In the old days, a recruiter would say, I'm going to spend $500 on a job board this week and $500 on social media, and they'd just wait and see what happened.
The old spray and pray method.
Exactly. Programmatic recruiting removes the human guesswork. It uses platforms like Appcast, which rely on AI and automation to dynamically shift ad budgets across a massive network of search engines, apps, and social media simultaneously.
So it's making micro decisions on the fly.
In real time. The software acts as a hyper-efficient broker. Let's say it detects that on Tuesday mornings, ads placed on a specific weather app are resulting in actual applications, but ads on a sports website on Friday nights are just getting clicks with no follow-through.
Oh, okay.
The AI will instantly redirect the advertising dollars away from the sports site and pour them into the weather app. It prioritizes the sources that produce the best hires at that exact second, and we're seeing a big shift toward paying for completed applications rather than just clicks.
Okay, hold on. Let me play devil's advocate here. If every mega carrier out there, the companies with thousands of trucks and millions in capital, if they all unleash these programmatic algorithms, aren't they just hunting the exact same pool of drivers?
That is the risk, yeah.
Doesn't that just create a new, much more expensive kind of noise? Like, how do platforms actually match drivers to fleets without just algorithmically outbidding each other?
That's a great point, and it's why the technology had to evolve again. They solve it by contrasting the general job board ecosystem with specialized matchmaking.
What do you mean by general job boards?
Well, if you go to a massive site, like Indeed, you have 250 million monthly visitors. It brings incredible volume, but it's entirely generalized. Sponsored posts might cost, say, $5 to $15 a day, but because everyone is bidding for space, the free posts get buried instantly.
Right, it's just too crowded.
Exactly. ZipRecruiter is similar. It auto-distributes to over 100 boards, but you're shouting into a crowded room. Craigslist is good for local or non-CDL jobs, and LinkedIn is really better for managers, not CDL drivers.
So you might get 1,000 applications,
But 990 of them don't have the right license.
Right, or they live in the wrong state.
And sorting through those 990 bad applications costs the recruiting team time, which costs the fleet money. So the industry pivoted to specialize, highly targeted matchmaking ecosystems.
Matchmaking, like algorithmic pairing.
Yes. Take a platform called Drive My Way. It doesn't function like a traditional job board where you just scroll a list of openings. It uses a proprietary algorithm to match drivers with employers based on their experience, desired home time, and lifestyle.
That sounds way less like a job board and way more like a dating app for employment.
The mechanics are exactly the same. Think about how a dating app works. If you're using one and you absolutely do not want children, you set a filter. The algorithm hides everyone who wants kids.
It saves you from a bad first date.
Exactly. In trucking, one of the biggest deal breakers is home time. If a driver wants to be home every weekend, the algorithm instantly filters out any over-the-road jobs that would keep them out on the highway for 3 weeks.
Oh, that's brilliant. It prevents the bait and switch, the recruiter doesn't waste time, and the driver only sees fleets that match their actual lifestyle.
It creates incredible efficiency. And Drive My Way is just one example. You have CDLjobs.com, which is 100% focused on CDL holders. You have Truckers Report with 243,000 members. OIDEA for owner-operators has 150,000 members. There's Driver Pulse by 10th Street, CDL Jobs Linker, Truckers Wanted Canada.
Well, it's a whole parallel universe.
It really is. These are insulated, highly specific environments.
Okay, so the AI optimizes the budget, and the specialized platforms filter for compatibility. But AI can only put the ad in front of the driver. Where are they looking, and what makes them actually click? Because a boring text ad that says CDL driver needed isn't going to grab anyone's attention in 2026?
No, it's not. And this is where we see one of the most counterintuitive shifts in the whole process. The core of modern recruitment is now social media lifestyle marketing.
Which feels like a strange pairing at first glance. If you ask the average person to picture a long-haul trucker, they probably aren't picturing someone scrolling social media. But the stats for the source are actually pretty surprising.
They really are.
I mean, 82% of truck drivers use Facebook, 67% regularly watch YouTube, and TikTok usage is rapidly growing among younger CDL holders.
You have to remember, these drivers have hours of downtime sitting at loading docks waiting for freight or parked at rest stops for the night. They are a totally captive audience for mobile content.
So I compare modern trucking ads to dating profiles or like influencer lifestyle vlogs. Instead of that text-heavy ad, carriers are running videos showing off shiny new equipment. They're showing actual weekly pay stubs, highlighting safety culture and their home time schedules.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains so much about modern recruiting strategy.
Yeah.
This content specifically targets passive candidates.
Meaning someone who already has a job.
Exactly. Drivers who weren't even actively looking for a job until they saw a video of a better lifestyle on their TikTok feed. Imagine a driver who's moderately annoyed with their dispatcher. They open TikTok to unwind, and the programmatic algorithm serves them a video of a driver making better money, driving brand new equipment, and getting home every Friday.
It just plants the seed.
It plants the seed. And when you look at the economics of this, the contrast is stark. A targeted Facebook ad campaign runs about $100 to $500 and takes maybe 1 to 2 weeks. Compare that to traditional staffing agencies that charge $8,000 to $15,000.
That's a huge difference.
Or they use fast-track services like O-Trucking Placement, which is a $500 flat fee for 2 to 3 day speed.
Okay, let's connect the dots here. We've explored the massive financial cost of the shortage, how programmatic AI works, and the whole social media swiping right concept. But getting a driver to apply through TikTok is really just the opening sequence. Because, as the source emphasizes, a cheap hire who quits in 30 days is vastly more expensive than a costly hire who stays.
This is the critical pivot happening right now. Getting them in the door isn't enough. The ultimate metric is retention, which forces fleets to figure out what drivers actually want in 2026.
The old school mentality was always just top-line revenue, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted a driver, you just offered them a higher cent per mile rate than the guy across the street.
And that strategy is completely failing today. There has been a paradigm shift in priorities. Drivers are actively accepting lower pay in exchange for better home time, work-life balance, and overall job satisfaction.
Right, lower pay.
Really? Yes. The burnout rate is just too high. They want to work for a dispatcher who treats them with respect. And a huge part of that is transparency. It's a massive competitive advantage. Clear pay ranges absolutely destroy vague promises of competitive pay.
Right, because if I see competitive pay, I just assume it's a trap. Drivers want to know the absolute worst-case scenario before they hand over their info.
Exactly. And from a best practices standpoint, the need for speed is crucial. Recruiters must respond to applications in minutes, not days.
Minutes? Wow.
They're heavily utilizing text messaging and personalized outreach because drivers are applying to multiple jobs simultaneously, and owner-operators need to maintain profiles on CDL-specific platforms to research carriers. This raises an important question about how we view the trucking industry. It's no longer just moving freight. It's a sophisticated blend of marketing, technology, and genuine relationship building.
So what does this all mean? Synthesizing this deep dive for you listening right now, whether you are managing a massive logistics fleet or you're just someone interested in how traditional industries are evolving, the lesson is clear. The winners in the talent battle aren't just those with the biggest budgets.
No, not at all.
They're the ones who deliver the right message, on the right channel, at the exact right time.
And I'll leave you with a final thought to ponder. If highly skilled blue-collar workers like CDL drivers can now leverage massive industry shortages to demand lifestyle changes, work-life balance, and radical transparency, how long until this AI-driven, hyper-personalized recruiting model completely rewrites the rules for every other industry's workforce?
Wow. Yeah, if they can do it for trucking, it's only a matter of time before it hits healthcare, retail, everything. It's a fascinating thing to consider. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we will catch you next time.